This episode of the Dicebreaker podcast is sponsored by Wild Bills. Ditch the manufactured flavors. Your taste buds deserve better. Treat yourself to Wild Bill's premium handcrafted soda pop. Mouth-watering beverages that allow you to escape to the most interesting places imaginable. Cheers to refusing the drink from the mainstream. Cheers to kick-ass canned. Cheers to being veteran-owned and operated. At Wild Bill's, flavor isn't everything. It's the only thing. Use discount code CHEERS15 for 15% off your first order. This episode of the Dicebreaker podcast.
This week's Dicebreaker podcast. Liv, did we nail it?
We didn't nail it, no, but we're
Almost
on.
nailed it.
But it's happening.
That's the Dicebreaker promise. Almost perfection.
You know it. Gosh.
I'm Matt Jarvis. I'm the editor-in-chief for Dicebreaker. I'm joined this week by two special guests. One kind of special guest, one special guest, and of course, Liv. Liv, we'll start with you. Welcome back.
Oh.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm focusing wildly on making sure OBS is working correctly, but I'm doing great. And yeah, I missed out on last week, so I'm excited to be here for episode 67.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And returning to the podcast for the first time in a while, Chase Carter, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm Chase. I'm only kind of special.
Yeah, I mean, you're a regular face on the website at this point. You know, at some point you become old guard. You slip into the kind of like, the luster wears away. But we're still delighted to have you with us as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, if you couldn't tell by the accent, I'm in the US. It's a nice morning. I've had 2 cups of tea, and I'm ready to go.
Excellent stuff. And our very special guest, first time on the podcast, but also a very familiar face over on the Dicebreaker website, Jason Coles. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be on, finally.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while, I was just saying before we started, but I'm delighted to finally have you on, yeah. It's always the way we're like, we should definitely do that, and then multiple months pass, it's like, oh right, yeah, like time, it moves. But yeah, it's good to have you here. I'm delighted to have you all with us as if you're new to the Dicebreaker podcast, we chat about board games, we chat about card games and RPGs and all sorts of stuff. Let's kick off, as we always do this week, by chatting about what we've been up to. Jason, as our special guest, let's kick off with you. What have you been doing lately? You been playing anything, been watching anything?
I've been watching a lot of anime, and I just started doing this
Finally.
morning. I was umming and ahhing as to whether or not to mention anime on the podcast, and I think I'll just leave it at that rather than
They can't stop us now, Jason.
There's 2 of you.
Jason, please carry on. You're going to delight Matt, and I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
I just started Vivi this morning. I think it's Vivi or Vivi, about the android who... There's an AI that's sent into a teddy in the past to stop an AI apocalypse, basically.
Wow.
And that's pretty cool. So definitely worth a look if you've not seen it. In terms of gaming, I have been playing a lot of MTG Arena, which, despite really enjoying Magic the Gathering, isn't something I do that often. But the new set has properly dragged me in because I really like it. And then a bunch of like Rocket League and Monster Train. So
Old regulars for Jason.
Yeah, I should say, because, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, you have a piece up on the website as of yesterday, chatting about the new set, and it's already out on Arena, right? And it's out next week in paper or tabletop, however you want to put it. And I think, has everyone here now played the new set on Arena?
Yep.
What do you all think as kind of like, for those who don't know, it's the first Magic the Gathering crossover with D&D, so all the cards are D&D stuff. It's like, here's the Vorpal sword, here's a gelatinous cube, here's Drizzt. Drizzt.
Tiamat,
yeah,
got, I don't know, what else is there? What's the one with the eye? Vecna? Vecna's in there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's a cool set of cards as well. Yeah.
Other body parts that have fallen off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Various body parts.
But yeah, how you're finding it? Because I feel like Liv, you're very much like very big into D&D. Like Jason and Chase, I think you're more kind of on the Magic end. and I'm kind of like floating in the middle somewhere. So it'd be interesting to know your kind of like various thoughts on how the set is come across to each of you.
Who wants to start?
Yeah. Jason, do you want to give it a go?
I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's excellent. As a Magic the Gathering player primarily rather than D&D, I think it does a really good job of implementing the ideas of D&D in a way that makes sense within the confines of the card game, as well as adding in new twists and mechanics that make sense. And there's a few really, really clever nods to D&D, like nearly every creature nowadays in Magic the Gathering has some kind of wordy ability. But they've made it thematic by just giving it a skill name this time, most of the time. And it's such a small thing, and it doesn't really change the game itself, but it does make it feel like it's been infused with Dungeons and Dragons, which I think is really cool. And the set itself is a lot of fun to play with as well. There are a few really cool cards. The draft format's great. I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Nice. Liv, let's go over to you as the D&D end.
Ooh.
As D&D correspondent Liv.
That's
coming
me.
in.
I'm loving that's like my official title now. Yeah, no, I'm loving it, especially because, well, I started playing Magic before the deck the new Ventures in the Forgotten Realms cards came out. So I was playing Strixhaven stuff and everything else, and blah blah blah. And I was getting into Magic like regardless of, you know, it having a D&D element in it. But now that there is a pack out that I feel like I understand, you know, I feel like I'm in on the joke kind of a little bit. So like I know exactly what a card means when it comes out, and like, oh, you know, that ability is a really fun way to kind of convert, you know, what the D&D background of that card might be. So for example, I mentioned Vecna. If you have like this tome or something that's an artifact, you can like place that to the side, and then if you have the Eye of Vecna and the Hand of Vecna, you can sacrifice all three of them to create Vecna, which is like an 8x8 like creature that is very intimidating and a lot. So yeah, it's just like I'm having a blast, basically. It's like I just got into Magic and they were like, hey Liv, this is for you, and I was like, thank you so much, I really appreciate Wizards. But yeah, what about you, Chase?
So I'm going to start off by Liv asking you a question. If you weren't here at Dicebreaker and like, you know, wanted to like play this like for your job, but also like because it's D&D, would you have like as a D&D player wanted to try Magic because of this set?
I think so. If it had come to my attention that Magic was like, oh, you know, I'm just taking advantage of the whole being run by wizards thing, I think I finally would have, because it was something that I was like tempted by like for a while. So this would have been like a nice push off the edge. Yeah.
Because I agree with everything. I think it's a wonderful set. Drafting is a lot of fun. It's like taking the place of the core set, which they normally do like a core 2020, 2021. This is like taking the place of the core set. So it has all the sort of like core set sensibilities. It's bigger. There's a lot of different abilities to play with. A lot of different like new mechanics and returning mechanics as well. And it's a little bit slower on the power curve. It's a little bit of a slower game. Things aren't quite as powerful. So it's a little bit better for, say, people who passed on maybe Kaldheim or Zendikar. Zendikar was a pretty powerful set. It's a nice jump in for that. That said, I truly don't believe that like this is the game, like this is the set that's really trying to like get people who play Dungeons and Dragons to play Magic the Gathering. It's fun, it's flavorful, and obviously for Liz, who just is kind of skewering my whole argument here. But beyond those like a few people who were thinking about it anyway, it's something that I know, like reading leading up to this, that they said they kind of wanted this to like bridge between their two games. They want to get D&D, which is just massively popular, right? Get some of those people over to play Magic the Gathering, which is really big, but not nearly as big as D&D. It would make sense from a business perspective to get some folks over there. And while it's flavorful, I just don't think it does the sort of things that D&D does. that is going to offer a bridge for those folks to be like, well, why would I just learn a whole new game if I haven't gotten into Magic already?
Yeah.
It doesn't make a good argument beyond flavor, beyond like, oh, neat, I know that character. Oh, neat, that's Drizzt. That's a gelatinous cube. That's a +2 maze. Like, beyond that sort of stuff, it's a great set. It's just not the bridge between the games I think they might have wanted.
I think for me, I think because I was kind of interested in Magic anyway, but I hadn't made that leap. I think for me that was what it would have given me that nudge. But if I was entirely uninterested in Magic, then probably not, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I point out that Scott Perkins has given us a super chat? Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah, thanks very much, Scott.
Appreciated.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, right? It's like Wizards of the Coast have gone so big on D&D, particularly in the last few years, along with its explosion. So we've seen things like Dungeon Mayhem, the party game, which is like a game in and of itself. And yeah, I think there is something to be said for, I'm guessing that Magic is already pretty big. There's like a lot of interest there. So like designing an original D&D card game is probably not going to be worth their time, because they obviously want people to get into Magic, and then people buy the Magic sets that come out but maybe aren't D&D. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of like halfway house, I guess, of like, we need to take some, there's things like Venture, which seems kind of interesting, and that you go through dungeons. There's like, you know, oh, it's Tomb of Annihilation, it's Dungeon of the Mad Mage, it's Lost Mine of Phandelver, but they still are kind of beholden to the Magic structure of, you have to use mana to cast things, you know, are playing creatures, you're playing enchantments, and it seems like they've done a good job within that kind of framework. But I guess, like, I wonder if it's almost a victim of its own success, in that they can't, Wizards as a massive corporate entity can't go outside too far of the things that it already has momentum behind.
I don't see it taking that chance, honestly.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's like, why create a new card game when you have Magic the Gathering? Like, and you know, we're going to see Warhammer in Magic the Gathering, we're going to see Lord of the Rings in Magic the Gathering. Like, the kind of genius of it is that it fits, that, I mean, all the sets that have come out over the last 30, like almost 30 years.
Yeah.
No, they've gone to ancient Egypt, essentially. They've gone to the Norse Viking kind of history. They've gone to steampunk. They've gone to, you name it, they've gone there. And it's kind of the brilliant thing about Magic. But I think it's interesting when you take something that is so rich and fleshed out like D&D, you know, and they can only go so far into it before, like, you would be essentially just breaking down what you've built, which, again, as a massive company that just wants to make even more money, like, I'm sure at some point someone was doing those calculations in a spreadsheet somewhere and going, well, if we put the two together, it's going to make X billions, rather than trying to create and build up a brand in its own right of like the D&D, the card game, or something like that. But it's an interesting one. I think, like, it's interesting to hear what you'll think about it. And I think it will be interesting to see whether it really does find momentum among folks who like D&D, or whether it just becomes like another Magic set that people who are into Magic pick up because rotation, like, want to stay, you know, on top of the cards. But like you say, are we going to see the audience for Magic jump as the result of this, or is it just going to kind of stay as it is for now?
I will say that as a core set, it's probably the best in the past year, out of the past year of sets. It's probably the best jumping on point for someone who like has never played before and kind of wants to get in on it. If you just play like Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, I wish I could say that there were like better like sort of starter products. Like, that's the sort of thing that I would want to see if I feel like they were actually doing the push. They just didn't really create any like sort of like beginner products, like starter sets, anything like that to sort of like really pivot with this like Dungeons and Dragons theming. You could slap that logo on the box of anything, and it's just like, there's commander decks, there's collector boosters, there's all this sort of stuff that they've done. There's just nothing for like really making it easy for folks to get in, despite it being a pretty good set for folks to jump in and learn if you want to do that.
It's definitely a lot easier to jump into this than it was last year's core set, which, if I remember correctly, had phasing, which even among Magic players is this like monumentally confusing thing that happens. And I remember part of the marketing around that was talking about how it was going to be a great set for beginners, and then you've got Teferi there and he's like, I'm phasing you out of existence, and there's a bunch of new players who now don't pick that up and they're like, the hell is that? I don't understand what that means at all. Yeah, exactly. It's hard enough getting used to like instant speed and sorcery speed, let alone some of the other things. So I do agree. It's definitely it's definitely one of the better sets to jump into, which is really cool. I think they pushed it as far as they thought they could push Magic the Gathering players rather than the game.
Yeah,
I think they could push the game further.
totally.
But if you look at the reaction to things like dice rolls, you've got players complaining about how it adds variance to the game. Like, it's not already a game about variance anyway. Like, if you're drawing cards from a deck, unless you know what's coming, it's a game of RNG. That's how it works, even if you build your deck well. So I still think dice rolls and things like that make it a lot more interesting. I think what I want to see really is another one of these in a couple years' time that pushes it even further. And I'd like to kind of see them continue down this path, not necessarily just with the Dungeons and Dragons sets, but certainly with the other crossover sets. Like, I want to see how far they can get before, like, the more reasonable Magic players also start losing their mind, basically.
Totally. Find that line. Make some wild swings.
Just
Absolutely.
smash. Yeah, exactly. Just mess the game. Like, mess with the game. They're going to
100%.
ban something anyway, so you may as well like go hard.
Yeah.
Question: are they doing like pre-gen decks around the D&D classes? Because that feels like the most kind of obvious, like, hey, you're a rogue in D&D?
No.
Like, here's you know, you've got the rogue enchantment, like, because the classes are now enchantments, right? So that feels like you could build a deck around that, and, you know, a D&D player would be like, oh, I'm a rogue, I want to be a rogue in Magic too. Like,
Right,
there we
yeah.
go.
I want to say they're doing something like that in Arena, but they're not releasing decks in paper around that, which I think is a real missed opportunity, because like you say, like, this is the cleric deck, you heal yourself constantly. The classes are almost perfect, like the way they've done those are fantastic.
They're very good.
The fact that you can pay mana to level them up, and the effects they have are all very on point.
I love Level Up. I'm so glad Level Up's back
so
in
much
a certain
fun.
way. Yeah.
It's so much fun. So I think they've done a really good job with that. But yeah, like, not having just, this is the rogue deck, this is the barbarian deck, that would be amazing.
Yeah, big whiff.
Yeah, I'd love to, like, because Jumpstart seemed really cool. Was it last year Jumpstart came out? The kind of, like, you take two halves, you mix them together. But again, you know, have a tiefling, like, half deck, have a, you know, cleric half deck. Let me put those together, and I'm a tiefling cleric.
Yeah.
You know, it just, D&D is all about kind of creating your character, right? So you could build decks around that. Sorry, Liv, you were saying something.
I was just saying that was very clever, Matt. That was it.
Thank you. I'm so glad I passed over to you so that you could praise the thing.
Yeah, just a compliment. Sorry, Liv, you were saying something. You were saying something about me.
Yeah. But Matt, that's built upon the preconception that Wizards wants to continue to even support Jumpstart, which they don't. They sort of like, everyone loved that, and they said, great, we're never doing that again.
Do you, what will probably happen regarding the classes is there will be an offshoot of Commander or something similar, where players just go, do you know what? You get to start with this class enchantment and play. You can level it up as you go. You can build your deck around this enchantment. You have to be within those colors. That will be a huge amount of fun, and I absolutely guarantee that people will do that. Whether or not that's supported by Wizards is obviously an entirely different matter.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pass over to Liv. Let's go with you next. What have you been up to? You've been away from the podcast for a week or two.
I have. Oh yeah, I could have thought about what I did the week before, but I didn't. Let me see. Well, we played Carcassonne yesterday. That was great. That was the first time I played it. Which was
really
classic.
What did you think?
I did enjoy it. Yeah, it like it's very simplistic, and it's also like it's got, you know how. So something that kind of got me with Railroad Ink was I felt like it was like too kind of random, like, and the dice rolls and like I was like, well, there's no possible way I could prepare for this, blah blah blah. So I feel like it's got that nice kind of randomness and theming like Railroad Ink challenge, but you can do a lot more with it. So that's the only thing I have to compare it to at the moment. But yeah, no, it was definitely very competitive. I'm glad that I didn't come in last. It's like the first time on the channel I haven't come in last, which is amazing. Yeah, and I think it's something. I think I'll end up buying a physical copy because I think it's definitely worth, you know, the hype around it. Now that I have played it. Let's see. I've been playing Magic. I know we've just talked about Magic a lot, but I've been playing a lot of it online, and Wheels has been teaching me like how to play like sealed and like drafting a deck and stuff like that, which is like it's just very exciting because I don't think I would have had the opportunity to learn that unless I'd joined the channel. So it's like, oh, this is very exciting. And I'm hoping that I'm getting a bit better, a little bit. And in terms of D&D, I haven't played as much because we've all had to do like adult things and just get our lives together. But I did play a one-shot with some friends the other day, run by my friend Fuzzy, and it was just basically we were in the sewers running about being chased by aliens. I mean, very similar looking to the like trademark aliens, but like
alien with like capital A alien.
Yeah. which was very fun, but distinct, obviously. I'm
enjoying being chased by these legally distinct aliens.
Exactly, yes. And that was a lot of fun. I got to play my so I've got an Azamar who is a what is she? She's a warlock. She is a celestial warlock. That's it. So basically, it's like you take the warlock class, which is great, but like it's basically the most healing cleric-like warlock subclass you can take. So you have like a pool of d6s that like you get a number of them equal to your level, and you can just as a bonus action like throw up to 4 d6s at like people who are injured and heal them up that way, which I think is a very fun mechanic that you can use. So that was pretty cool. And I don't think I've been been watching anything. I mean, I would say Too Hot to Handle, Matt, but I raced through that. My goodness.
That's because I've now finished the second season of. We did chat. I chatted about it a little bit last week on the podcast, but they were non-believers, the rest of the team, that I could not bring them around to Too Hot to Handle.
I cannot believe it. It's classic. It's trash TV at its finest. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it is like capital T trash TV, but it's very good in that vein. Like if you know what you're going in for, like the production is very good. Like they pull all the kind of like drama strings along the way. Just sat there like, I can't believe Marvin and Melinda. I can't believe Cam and Emily. It's it's in the same way that like I've never watched EastEnders and I've never understood the appeal of EastEnders, but I feel like this I get. Yeah. Like I'm invested moment to moment in the drama of these people I've never met.
Exactly.
Which has been carefully edited for consumption.
Yeah, definitely, and it's totally not scripted at all, except it absolutely is. So that's I really enjoy Too Hot to Handle, but I don't know if anyone's heard of this. It's called Are You the One? Which is basically, oh Matt, you'll love it. So it's you have like a group of like 20 people in a house, and apparently like each couple has a perfect match that's been decided by like, I don't know, a computer. I don't know what by, but everyone has to find their perfect match. But then people who are not each other's perfect match end up getting together, and it's like, oh no, this has to be my perfect match, blah blah blah, and then they go into this weird like sci-fi room, and it's just like, you are not a perfect match. It's a whole thing. It's very silly, and
it's incredible. That's almost
like a horror show.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like a social deduction game, except it's like people's romantic lives.
Yeah.
It's like one person here isn't a werewolf; they're your perfect match. You have to try and identify them.
Exactly. No, that's legitimate. I think that's probably partly why I really like it, because I love me some social deduction. So, so that's good. Also, a fun like LGBT fact about that: they did like season 8, I think, and they did one that was just like it was just like everyone was like pansexual, and you could like fall for like you could be anyone's perfect match and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, this is like the first like dating show I've seen that's done this like ever. So that's
was it normally spin across like gender binary lines normally?
Exactly. Yeah, like it's normally just like very heteronormative, but yeah, no, this season was like, oh my god, why isn't there more of this? Please, more. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my this Are You the One recommendation from me. Hi. That's pretty much what I've been doing. Yeah.
I'm gonna go seek that out. While it's in my mind, because for some reason this came back up as you were talking about the kind of sci-fi feel of this. Have you ever watched Game of Clones?
No.
So Game of Clones, another kind of trashy dating show. The premise is there's one person, they describe their ideal person in terms of physical terms, and the producers of the show find like a dozen people that look roughly identical and fit these things, and then they have to kind of take all 12 of them or 10 of them, however many there are, on dates. But the idea is that they are all identical effectively,
so
you know,
scary.
in terms of physical characteristics. It's very odd.
That sounds
That's horrifying.
Yeah, I can't decide if that's more existentially terrifying for the person or the 10 other people who someone decided they look almost exactly the same. You're like, oh, there's just 10 other of me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really something.
I guess it's kind of nice that because like you're like, well, we all look the same. I guess I just have to let my personality shine, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the way they kind of make it less horrifying than the premise is. Yeah. Where it's like, you know, once you get past the looks of people, because they all look the same, you'll then dig into their personality, as if, you know, you need that kind of impetus to judge people by something other than their looks. But
I'm very excited.
Okay.
It sounds like, Matt, we've got 2 new shows to watch, or a new show to watch each.
I feel like at some point, Liv, this will become you and me sat in a room somewhere recounting trash TV that people should watch. We should make that happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like a subscription video.
Oh yeah, that could be a membership video. Ooh.
Yes. We will get onto that, but first of all, Chase, let's hand over to you. What have you been up to this week?
Any non-trash?
Yeah, so I've been playing Magic, which if I lose is trash. Yeah, for sure. I've been drafting as much as my currency allows. I have not yet put any money in there, but gosh, I'm so close. I'm gonna get there. Yeah, the drafting is a lot of fun, but that's Magic, Magic Arena. I've also been playing a solo RPG called Ostro, which are these like, it comes in these 2 like sort of like pamphlet looking things. It's by Timothy Watkins. It came out during Zine Quest, and I backed it on Zine Quest. It is, the best way to describe it is like the exploration part of Wind Waker, where you're just sort of like charting the sea and going around. There's like an island in each little like nautical square on this map, and you discover something. In this game, you are trying to chase down 5 pieces of a treasure map that leads to this like legendary pirate treasure where your old captain is supposedly going. They said they found the treasure and started off this gigantic hunt all through Ostro, which is this sort of like nationless sea, like a big like coalition of like pirates and privateers and other sort of like folks like that. So you have your ship and your crew. There's like, you can be one of different, like 5 different sort of nautical races. You can be a frog person or a turtle person or a whale person. A lot of different stuff. And so you have your crew, you have your ship, and you have some ship stats like crew, arms, sails, and hull, which can like sort of vary across like -3 to +3, and different like things that you come across every time you come into a new sort of like square, which I have this big map that I drew a bunch of like lines, so it's like just a big gridded map. And every time you come into a new grid, you roll 2d10s, so D percentile, and then the book is just like full, like 100 of these like random encounters. They can be good. You could just like come across I came across an island full of weavers, and they were like, oh heck yeah, we've got some cheap sails, we'll give you some really good sails. Or I could sail straight into a reef made out of like living jellyfish that begin to eat my ship alive as I sail through it. And so the whole thing is, and as you go through, you can mark down and on your map, like you make a little dot and be like, okay, this is the village where like the weavers are. If you need to come back, you can come back and do this again. So the whole thing is about trying to find these pieces of treasure, which can come across from random encounters, while also making sure that you keep your crew happy and your ship up to date. Because you can come across the Northern Navy, which will try to sink you. You can come across other pirates that will try to steal your stuff. So you're trying to manage these stats while also slowly, gradually charting the sea and trying to find all these different locations. So if you find a nice port of call, you got to remember that, because if things are dire, you need to make a straight sailing point directly to there, and try to like lick your wounds before you go back out. And that's it. It's a solo RPG, so I can just spend a couple hours charting unknown parts of the ocean, finding treasure, getting into trouble, and that's it. It's nice. Like it's not any of the other part of Wind Waker, so there's no like overarching story. In fact, like the narrative part is a little weak, and I think that's on purpose. It really is up to you whether you want to like I have a journal and I'm taking notes and kind of like building out my favorite crew members based on what happens. Um, and if you don't want to do that, you could just like take like very sparse notes about what happened and just keep rolling, and you could maybe blow through this game in 4 or 5 hours tops. But I'm really sort of like taking a laborious route through the sea and really enjoying everything I come across.
Yeah, that sounds great. Is it out on like something like Itch as well? Can you get it digitally, or was it
Yes.
just Sequest? Okay.
Yes, I don't have Timothy Watkins' itch page pulled up, but if you just search like Timothy Watkins itch or Ostro itch, it's definitely there. You can get it digitally. I don't know if they are still selling these like sort of pamphlet things, but gosh, like the sort of just like wide pamphlet look of these is like wonderful. I love it. It's a great looking game. It plays well. So if you're looking for just a bit of like nautical flavor, I'd recommend trying it out. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah.
And then, sorry, go ahead, Liv.
I was just thinking, we do have I think we have a video about solo RPGs that's on the channel. So if you're looking for more solo RPGs that probably similar, you should check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then my D&D group has fallen through because we picked up The Quiet Year, and which is I think everyone but me. It's our first time playing The Quiet Year, and they fell in love immediately. And so we canceled our game going forward until we finish The Quiet Year. We're actually meeting tonight. We're doing a potluck dinner, and then we're just going to try to keep playing more The Quiet Year. If you're unfamiliar, it's a game by Avery Alder. It is a sort of world-building, map-making game, collaborative stuff. You have a deck of cards, and it's all arranged by suit. And the first suit is spring, and then you go into summer, and then fall, and then winter. And then at some point in winter, the Frost Shepherds, a metaphorical Frost Shepherd, will arrive, and that ends the game. And it's all about sort of like building out communities, finding the sort of like connections between them. And this can be on any sort of scale. It can be like a small group of towns. It could be a whole nation. It's kind of up to you. And as you go through the seasons, like spring is all about like finding things, interesting discoveries, who are the big factions, who's in power, who knows each other. As you get into summer, some conflict starts to boil up, and then fall is all about making some hard choices. And then winter is when things die, in every sense of the word. So it's really interesting. We're just now heading into the height of summer. They're cracking. We're on an asteroid out in space. There's a space station. There's a corn cult. The worm wranglers have turned into worm rangers. They've militarized. There's an asteroid belt kind of out farther west protecting this weird alien that lives on a trash heap. I don't know where any of that's going, but we've got so many pieces on the game board to play with. It's going to be a good time.
Amazing. For folks who may recognize Avery Alder's name, they are the designer of Monster Hearts, right?
Yep, Monster Hearts. And also Dream Apart and Dream Askew, which are like two belonging outside belonging games, or no dice, no masters games. Also very good.
Yeah, it feels like we've just seen such a rush of particularly like journaling games, map making games in like the last year or so, but I'm all in for it.
Oh, I love
like,
map making.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite kind of genres of like solo RPGs is just let me draw a map. As I have no artistic talent. I'm not a cartographer by trade or even by association, but just being able to draw things in little squares and kind of reveal a world one square at a time it's just like a very satisfying thing for me.
Yeah. Have you played Ex Novo or Ex Umbra?
Yes, I have played one of those.
Ex Novo is like the city building one. Ex Umbra is the dungeon building one.
I think it's Ex Umbra.
I haven't played Ex Umbra, but I want to. That sounds mad fun.
Yeah, I played it a while ago. Unless I'm confused it with something else. But I remember having a good time. I didn't play loads of it. I need to go back to it. I think I have the physical books, actually, because I think I backed them on Kickstarter. Maybe I'm confused it with something else. Like I say, I feel like there have been like a number of dungeon drawing games.
Yeah.
And at some point they blend together in my head. But it's good. Because I think Delve as well by Anna Blackwell.
Yeah, Delve in Rise, I think, is her other one.
Yes. Yeah. But I played that as well and really, really enjoyed what I played of it. So
those are on my list. I want to get to them.
Yeah, they're really good.
That's it. That's all I've been playing.
Nice. am very boring. I've not been playing very much at all. It's been a busy week in a lot of regards. I have been playing Solitaire Stories on iOS. My wife actually turned me onto this. It's on Apple Arcade, I think. I got like a trial, so I've just been flicking through games on there. It is Solitaire, the card game. It's very well presented. It's very slick. It kind of has a story mode, which is a strange thing for a Solitaire game. And all it basically does is step up the difficulty. And what I have learned is that I'm very bad at Solitaire because I have to replay each of the missions about half a dozen times before I finally get through them. I'm doing there's one that's themed around music. So you do like some levels inspired by Chopin and some levels inspired by Mozart. But what that basically means is
delightful.
It has like a little couple of snippets of text where it's like, then they were inspired by Chopin, and then it's just play a game of Solitaire. It's like play 2 games of Solitaire and then move on to the next mission. It's just Solitaire. But it is very slick. It's been a while since I went for a stage where I really loved Solitaire. Like I would play it physically, like all the time. Like if I went away, I would just be playing Solitaire. And so this is bringing back the fact that Solitaire is kind of like a very good, easy way to pass the time. Like it still feels like one of those game, and I'm sure there are people who are actually good at Solitaire. This might just be me being very salty about the fact that I'm bad at it. But a lot of the time, it just feels like you can play yourself into a corner without even realizing. Like I'm trying to be as thoughtful as I can about, okay, I don't want to take these cards up yet because I might need to get to one that's on top of the ace and things like that. But points you'll get, another 5 minutes down the line, it's like, oh, I buried the 5 parts that I needed.
Yeah.
If I'd put a different red suit card there, I would have been fine. But it just feels like at some point it's like, yeah, like that's the way it goes. Like, guess I'll restart this again and try and remember that. Because I think Solitaire Stories, it has fixed setups and deck orders. I don't know for sure, but it says that it ups the difficulties. And from what I know, as I'm restarting, I think at least the setups are identical. I don't know if the deck order is as well, but it certainly feels like it. So yeah, at some point it's just me going, well, I clearly screwed up somewhere along the line, guess I'll do this again, and then doing exactly the same thing 4 more times and going like, what, like I don't know where else to put this to, of course it goes on the free, and then being like, no, I'm just I've utterly ruined it. So yeah, it's a very slick version of those. I don't know how much further I'm going to get into it because I feel like I'm not very good at it, so I'm just playing the same game of Solitaire, like say, like a dozen times in a row.
Sounds like a nice way to kind of switch things up if you are, really into Solitaire though. So just like,
it's,
for example, my mum is just constantly playing it, so I might be like, hey, chat it up a bit, mum. Here you are.
Yeah, like I say, it's a really slick thing. It has like an undo button. It has like the presentation is very good. It's very satisfying when you move cards around because they go ding, and like my phone buzzes a little bit and things like that. So it's like it's got the hooks in terms of the feedback. As much as Solitaire can be kind of ramped up into something exciting, it's kind of there. But yeah, it's a good pass the time game. I'm not going to call it a toilet game, but it's a good way to pass the time when you need, say, 5-10 minutes.
Of course. I have another recommendation of a pass the time game. So I have downloaded recently. You reminded me with that for Android. I've downloaded Grim Quest, which is basically like an RPG like mobile game. It's just like a classic, like you're an adventurer, blah blah blah. And you can go and get you go to a shop that sells spells, and you can buy equipment, and you can level things up and get more powerful. But you just set out and you go to different dungeons, and eventually you just go down level by level, and you have to find, basically you go from the entrance and you have to find the exit by going square by square by square, and it'll get bigger and there'll be more threats and stuff as you go on, and you have to have a certain number of supplies on you that will, if you go a square, that reduces your number of supplies by 1, so you can't just go on and on and on. So it's a fun little, usually if I'm about to go to sleep and I'm I can't quite sleep just yet, I'm just going to press a bunch of buttons on this. So that's a fun little kind of, if you just want an RPG in your hand, that's a recommendation for me. Yeah.
Was it called Grim Quest?
Grim Quest, yes.
Grim Quest. I will check it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Other than that, I've been playing a game that I can't talk about because it's under embargo. I'm about to play another game that I can't talk about because it's under embargo. I have been... I finished watching Schitt's Creek, which became I need something to watch for 20 minutes as I drift off. I still don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it's one of those shows that I watched because it was kind of... It was 20 minutes long and I enjoyed it, but I was never like, I'm having a great time watching this. I was never laughing my head off. It was just kind of like this is quite sweet. This is quite funny in points. But I was never, I've seen like some really kind of big praise for it. I was kind of like, it's good. Like it's definitely like good, but I was never kind of bowled over in the same way as I have been with other things. It just feels like a very kind of well written and well kind of judged sitcom. And then I started watching End of the Effing World, which is also something that I missed on Netflix when I think everyone was talking about it. And again, I was like, I need something for 20 minutes, like each evening as I fall asleep. And I've been enjoying that so far.
Yeah, it's a really good show. Is there a second season out? I think it's
I think so. Yeah. And it's like based on a graphic novel, I think, although I haven't read the graphic novel or come across it before, so I don't know how it compares.
Isn't the same author who they adapted another one of their comics, the I'm Not Okay With This, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the same artist author did both of those.
It is.
And I think it's the same showrunner as well across the two.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
it's a
cool.
crime that I Am Not Okay With This was not renewed for a second season. I'm not okay with that.
Netflix cursed. You know, great shows just get canceled and eaten by the machine.
I feel like Netflix at least gives them two, right? Isn't the classic thing of like two seasons is it, and then whoop, like time to enough of that. So yeah, that's a shame. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, so I will have to move over to I'm Not Okay With This at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking for I need things that aren't 40 to 60 minutes long, and it feels like they are in such short supply nowadays. Every television show is like 45 minutes at least, and I just don't have that. I have exactly 20 to 25 minutes before I'm out. So
I've got lots of programs my daughter loves which are like 7 or 8 minutes that I can recommend if that helps. Some of them are really good, some of them are terrible, but...
Yeah, but at that length it doesn't matter how good they are, right? It's like they move so quickly.
You'd be surprised. There are times Paw Patrol is a curse upon this earth.
Oh, Paw Patrol.
That's
my namesake.
Is that the firefighting dogs? Is that the...
That's the one where a little boy has somehow brainwashed an entire town into giving him all the money and becoming all the emergency services. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. That's literally what's happening.
This is a kid show, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested
Bluey's
now.
really good though. That's about dogs.
What's really good, sorry?
Very cute. Bluey.
It's
just hit Disney Plus. It's this is completely off tangent, sorry.
No, please.
It's like this
It's like this podcast, Jason.
Yeah.
So it's this 8-minute show about these dogs in Australia, and it's just a cute family of dogs, but it's just got like really solid parenting advice, some really touching moments in it, and some really cool kids games within it. It's just a very, very good show, as opposed to something like Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol, where it's just like colourful nonsense for X amount of time. It's like, no, I learned something watching this. Like, this is quite touching, quite enjoyable, rather than just like, why is this pig this obnoxious? So it's a nice change of pace.
Obnoxious pig. The new Peppa Pig spell.
Yeah.
Let's move on over to news. Before we get into headlines from around the industry, we have our own news on Dicebreaker this week. As hopefully many of you saw, we launched memberships this week. We launched Dicebreaker Plus, which we've adopted this finger motion now. It's just become a thing.
Yeah. It kind of
we
looks
just
like
keep doing it.
a cross, which is fun.
Yeah, no bad spirits here. We fend them off. It's not a religious show. So yeah, we've launched premium memberships. You can watch the trailer on the YouTube channel. I'm not going to go on too long about this because we've already got a trailer out there. You can find out the information on our YouTube channel. But there are a couple of things I just wanted to mention because I think some folks were, we tried to be pretty upfront about what you'll get for like giving us a $5 a month or like £9 a month, like $10, something like that. But just to be completely clear about it, like nothing that is already on the channel or that we're already doing is going behind a paywall. That's not the case at all. Like this is all extra stuff, as the name suggests. Like, it's stuff on top of the stuff we're already doing. Like, we really do consider this stuff really carefully. Like, we appreciate support. We know that there are some folks that want to support us, but like can't afford £5 or £10 a month. You know, that's absolutely fine. And like, there's no way that we want to take away from that or take away what you're able to like view or be part of. So yeah, there's no way any of that stuff will go behind it. Like, our new D&D series that's coming up won't be behind the paywall. Like, nothing like that. This is just extra stuff for those that want to or can like chip us a few quid each month. It's behind the scenes stuff. It's stuff that, to be honest, like, we wouldn't do on the channel anyway. So it's an opportunity to do that. It wouldn't fit on the main channel, you know, things like video games or things like behind the scenes or videos about me chatting about anime or me and Liv chatting about trash TV.
Yeah.
Like, all of the stuff that wouldn't fit, and to be honest, that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So yeah, like, I know that, you know, there are definitely elements of asking people for money is a big thing. Like, you know, especially nowadays, like, we appreciate that it's a big thing to ask for £5 a month or £10 a month on a regular basis. But there's no way we're going to be putting stuff behind the paywall that doesn't belong on the main site. Like, we're not about that. We want to keep it as accessible as we can. Like, that's what the site was created with. That's why our tagline is board games for everyone. That's why we're here. At the same time, you know, those folks who are able to support us, we wanted to offer something extra, you know, it's not essential, but is just something in return for your money and your support. So yeah, and as we go on, like, no doubt, you know, we will, like, this is new for us. Like, we will do some things right. No doubt we'll do some things wrong. Like, we're paying attention to the feedback. Like, we really do care what people think. We want to get it right. You can read post from Wills on our YouTube channel that did a very good job of articulating this and exactly what it's going to be. But yeah, I just wanted to be upfront about the fact that, you know, we appreciate the support that people give, whatever form it takes. Like, whether that's subscription, whether that's just liking a video, whether that's just watching a video or tweeting about us, like, we appreciate it all. So yeah, thank you for those of you who have supported us this far and will continue to support us going forward. But if you want to go and check that out, like I say, there's a trailer. You can see some of the stuff that we're doing, and there will be more to come. But yeah, rest assured, like, nothing will be going behind the paywall that we would put on the main YouTube. We're not moving focus at all. This is just an expansion of what we're already doing. So I wanted to mention that here. Yeah. Let's move on to other news that isn't about ourselves. I pulled a couple of headlines this week. Chase, I believe you wrote this story about a new Warhammer 40k kill team.
Yeah, new kill team. They are redoing it again. This is like ground up stuff, which I think the last time they did was in 2018. It's when they redid kill team. If I can remember our history, so kill team is like skirmish mode for Warhammer 40k. If you're familiar with Age of Sigmar's like Warcry and Underworlds, it's kind of the same stuff. So smaller armies, 2 players, skirmish mode. But this time what they're doing, instead of just like adapting Warhammer 40k's current rules, they said that this is going to be an entirely new rule set. Like, this is just their own rules. It is as separate a game, I think, as like Games Workshop has made in a physical product sort of stuff. So, I mean, all the lore, all the 40k lore is coming over. The first box, Octarius, is going to have the Core of Krieg versus Orc Commandos. Listen, I'm not a 40k lore person, so please don't come for me, but like the Core of Krieg is like, they're like sort of like trench warfare looking dudes, and like many other Warhammer 40k factions, their lore starts with their planet dying. They were occupied and then they bombed it until it was no longer livable. And then the Emperor came along and was like, tithe to me, and they're like, we've got nothing, so we give ourselves, and that's their whole deal. And then the Orc Commandos are just Orc Commandos. They're kind of sneakier. They look like, you know, sort of like action hero. They got the black leather hats and like big guns and sort of, you know, Schwarzenegger-esque fighting style. And the Octarius, the box set that they're selling to kick off the new kill team, is going to have both of those. No launch date. Pre-orders are coming up pretty soon, but that's par for the course for Games Workshop new releases. But I think the biggest thing is that like they are just like sort of tossing out the baby and the bathwater and starting up fresh with just an entirely new rule set. The one thing I know that we do know that's different from the old one is that it's going to have like alternating activations. So like one person will go and they'll like move a unit, or if they have certain abilities, you can move several units, and then your opponent gets to respond. And what they want to do with that, they've said, is that like they want to kind of make this like on your toes kind of fighting. So like whatever strategy you built up could change in a minute. Whatever ability that your opponent breaks out could like completely change the battlefield, or like this like part of this the skirmish army could just like break off and do something else, and you've got to react immediately to whatever objective you're playing. So it's going to be a little bit more action packed, maybe a little bit faster, and with the smaller armies, it's also going to be a bit more affordable than, say, you know, building a traditional Warhammer army. But yeah, that's Kill Team.
Nice. I've not played Kill Team. It's always been one of those, like, I was into Warhammer like way back when, and this and like Warcry, like, and even Underworlds have always felt like the kind of level that I could get back in on, like just like handful of models, not hours and hours of painting, like rule set is trimmed down so it's not like a thick volume of rules. But it's interesting to see them just, Kill Team hasn't been around that long, like you say, like to just kind of completely redo it all feels
I'm pretty sure like they put out new Kill Team stuff, like not new, but like in the current one, like just a few months ago. I've seen some people like kind of be like, I just bought these, like these are just coming out, and I just finished painting, but I haven't seen too much. Like I think people are fairly positive on the new direction they're going.
Do you think it's maybe something that's trying to be more accessible for new players, Chase, or?
Yeah, I think the success of Warcry, which as far as I know, Warcry and Underworlds has been a fairly successful like product for them, and I think they really want to do the same for 40K, because Kill Team, they kind of need a new name and not just reboot it, but like the current Kill Team it's good, but it's just sort of like they just sort of like modified 40K to fit smaller armies and stuff like that. Where like Underworlds is like, it has deck building elements. It is different enough from Age of Sigmar, I believe, that like, you know, it's an entirely different game. So it can really, like, if you don't like that just like big army thing, but you kind of like the deck building element of Warcry and Underworlds, it can bring it in. So I think if they're really like sort of like rebuilding the rules, they're probably thinking about getting folks in for the first time.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna also shout out Apex Penguin, who has joined Dicebreaker Plus. Thank you so much, Apex.
Yeah, thanks very much for the support.
Yeah.
Chase, is there any, like, something that we've seen a lot of Games Workshop lately is kind of like very limited runs of things? Like we were chatting about this the other day. Like I don't think original Kill Team had this issue. Like obviously it's been relatively easily available, but is there any sign that this is gonna maybe be like another short kind of run, like grab it while you can, like FOMO kind of thing?
Yeah, the Octarius box that has both the armies and some terrain and all the rules that you need is going to be a limited release. They have just come out and said that. You will be able to buy the armies separately going forward. They will be, so you can buy Corps of Krieg and the Orc Commandos in separate, you know, boxes. That's just the armies. The rules and stuff, I'm sure you'll have a PDF online, and you'll have to buy your terrain from Citadel separate, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, the boxed product, as seems to be the case with a lot of recent Games Workshop releases, sort of since Cursed City, the board game that they did, it's just like, yeah, they're going to create a certain amount, and then after that, it's done, and you just can't get it anymore. And a lot of those go through pre-order. So if you don't get it in pre-order, or you don't secure one with your local game store, the chances of you coming across one in the wild, unless you're going to do third-party like resale, is just vanishingly slim, especially with shipping woes that are continuing to really cripple a lot of folks.
Yeah, it just seems, because like we've seen not exactly the same, but like over in Magic, right? Like there was the Walking Dead Secret Lair, like Secret Lair continues
all of the secret layers.
Yeah, like very limited stuff. Like it just feels like
Modern Horizons 2.
Yeah, like really.
Modern Horizons 2 is print to order, I believe, so there shouldn't be a scarcity. But there's a thing online actually where some of the cards are worth more in the Magic Online, which is the other version of online Magic you can play, that one of the cards was worth more online than it was in paper, despite the fact that you can't have digital scarcity. That's not a thing.
It's all artificial, yeah.
But it cost more. It cost substantially more. I think it was like 80% more online than it was in paper, which is
that's absurd. Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like because we've seen it for a long time with Kickstarters, like
Mhm.
board games that are like if you don't back the Kickstarter, like you may just miss your chance. But things like Warhammer, things like Magic that have always just been very like relatively easy to just pick up
Mm.
in a local shop, they're games that have made it into the mainstream.
Yeah.
It feels very odd that they are now well, not even recently, like I say, Secret Lairs been a thing for a while, but like they just have these very like an increasing kind of lean on like that FOMO feel of like just pushing people to get in at like a certain price point, like so there's no chance for prices to slip down over time, like to come in during like a 1 month window or a couple of weeks window, whatever it is. It feels very odd and like in a lot of ways kind of uncomfortable because if people don't have that money or aren't able to invest at that point, they've either got to cough up for secondhand copies, which then go for absurd amounts on eBay, or they just miss out, which just feels like I say, sorry.
Yeah, one of the weird things is like with Curse City, with Kill Team, a lot of these products are game modes that they are going to continue to support with like supplemental products, with new models, new factions, and stuff like that. So the fact that the sort of starter box, whether we're talking about Curse City or any of the other, like with Kill Team or any of the boxes, the fact that the starter box is not going to exist, but the supplements will. What if 2 years down the road you just like get into it and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I want to get the base game so I can play it. You kind of have to piecemeal it together, or that box just isn't going to exist anymore. That's kind of buck wild to me. That's just the reality for a lot of these games.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's such an illogical thing, even from a financial standpoint. Like, we're going to print this thing. Secret Lairs are different. Secret Lairs are basically like summer skins for your Overwatch characters, but for Magic cards. Like they're well, apart from the Walking Dead one, which is why it was such a controversy. That one wasn't skins; those were brand new cards. That's a whole other thing. But for a game like Warhammer to print something like, oh yeah, this seems really cool, and it sounds awesome. Like that sounds like the kind of thing that non-Warhammer players could be like, oh yeah, I'll get in here. And then, like you say, if they do that any point other than like right now, tough.
Yep.
And that doesn't make any sense. Surely that makes no sense from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, I think like, especially games like because I correct me if I'm wrong, but like the models in there, right, are like existing sculpts or existing models from normal 40k. Like it feels like a lot of the push is kind of on like, hey, you can take these models and then use them in the proper 40k. Like it's kind of entry step up. Like I already have 5 models, so I might as well get 10 more, kind of thing.
Yeah, the ones in the box will have like some optimization and different like stuff like that you can do. It'll have different builds that sort of fit into the rules. And I believe this is the first time the Core of Krieg has like had this much of an expanded roster. They've sort of just been like plunky, like 1 or 2 units every once in a while. And yeah, you'll be able to buy these separately, and you can use them elsewhere. Like you could use them in any conventional army. But yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't think people kept expecting the Kickstarter bubble to burst, and it still hasn't. Like even the coronavirus, like its numbers were still up last year, amongst all of that. So it just feels like it's not going to be something that's going to go away anytime soon. And you just start to think, what will be the cause of it actually, like the bubble bursting? But there's no real sign of that for any of this yet. It just feels like it's becoming less and less accessible for a lot of people to get in on like good games. Like at the end of the day, like, there are a lot of great games that are just very limited. Let's move on to this next story quickly. I believe, Chase, you also wrote this one up about the Avatar RPG, which we covered a little while ago, but now the quick start rules are out and we have an actual name for it.
That's right. It is Avatar Legends, the role-playing game. And yeah, you can get the quick starter rules now through we have a story on the site, and there's a link to Magpie Games, who are publishing it. And you can grab the quick start rules there for free. It's like 40 pages. It kind of runs down. I will say, like, I'm going to have a piece either later today or on Monday, kind of like with my impressions of the quick starter thing and the first adventure that they have in there. It is very much positioning itself to be a beginner RPG. It wants to be in it to sort of like piggyback off the other one. This is for people getting into role-playing games. If you're an Avatar fan, you're like, I would love to play games that are set in that world.
To clarify, Is it the last airbender, by the way, or is it the
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Blue sexy cat people.
Yes.
I was like, people just frothing in the mouth to get those blue cat people back in their lives.
Yeah,
Finally.
James Cameron hasn't put out those 7 other films, but he did find time to create a role-playing game.
Oh, good.
It's like George R.R. Martin doing Elden Ring.
Yeah. As a Final Fantasy 14 player, I will take an RPG full of blue sexy cat people.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah. No. Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. And that brings up a good point. This game stretches across, I think they have 5 different eras that you can play in. From Avatar Kyoshi, it's kind of broken up by Avatar. So Avatar Kyoshi, which is like legendary, it's a time of myth. This is when like the 4 nations are sort of forming. They're getting their borders coalesced. So there's like a lot of brigands. It's like the first 4 turns in Civilization sort of stuff. So there are going to be bandits roaming around and that sort of stuff. And then you have Roku, which is like sort of like there's an uneasy peace, but there's that tension building that obviously gives way to the 100-Year War when the Fire Nation attacked, and you can play during that period as well. Then they have Avatar Aang's era, which is like after the show and based on some comics that were put out. And that is like all about like trying to deal with this new world that Aang and the crew throughout the series helped bring about. And then you can go into Korra's, which is Republic City, the sort of like steampunky-esque, like it's more like sort of like industrial China, like industrial age China, whenever like Hong Kong was becoming like a new world, like sort of like the Paris of the East, if I'm going to use like sort of, it's very Orientalist to say that, but like it was very much like Hong Kong became a new center for culture and trade and stuff like that. And Republic City is obviously built based off of that. So you can play in any of those 5 eras, and it's designed to give you different styles of storytelling depending on which era you choose. And then like I guess, I mean, I could continue to talk about this, but what do y'all want to know? Like, what would be interesting to you about an Avatar RPG?
I think so. Like to get a measure, like, are you folks all like Avatar fans? Are you Korra fans? Are you,
Yeah, I've seen both.
Have you watched both series? Yeah.
Jason, have you?
Yeah. I've watched all of Avatar, and I started Korra, and then I want to say we had our daughter, and
right.
that was that.
I can beat that off for that one.
Yeah. I do actually want to get back to it, and actually, it's one of those things that I could 100% watch while working, so I should. But yeah, I love the universe; it's great.
So good.
Yeah, I think I take the less popular opinion that I prefer Korra to Avatar. I feel like it, like the characterization and the storytelling is like a little bit more, like quote mature. It deals with kind of heavier subjects in that. And also I think the show in general is kind of, there's a bit less filler. Like Avatar has more fun, but it's more of like it's a bit lighter. It's a little bit, there are episodes that you could almost entirely skip out because they're just off doing some fun kind of like world exploring stuff. Whereas Korra always feels like it progresses forward with each episode. But have any of you read the comics as well, given that this is drawing from those as well?
Yeah, I've read the comics and the novels, the Kyoshi novels.
Oh, I didn't know they were novels. Because I've read the comics and really liked them, but
yeah, like the novels are great. They do a great job, like sort of like the comics do, of sort of like really like taking that time to dive into like some like tensions and stuff like that the show only kind of hints at. The Kyoshi novels definitely do that sort of stuff as well. So if you like the comics, I would recommend seeking out the novels, even if it's like on an e-reader. Check them out. They're not too long.
Yeah. I think one of the things that like a lot of folks I guess will ask about and have been chatting about is the presence of bending, which obviously is like it's the big thing in the world, right? Like it's the bread and butter of how you're going to be interacting with that world. So in terms of like I think you and I chatted about it a bit, like it kind of takes like a simplistic-ish approach to it. It's not super heavy.
Yeah, so it is not super mechanically heavy. It's there, and it can be a core part of your character. And I think when we get the full rules, it'll kind of like do a better job of showing that. This one doesn't really approach it quite as much. So like, it's a Powered by the Apocalypse game, so it has playbooks, and the playbooks are not linked to bending. They're linked to sort of like the kind of person that you are. Like there's one called the Bold, there's the Guardian, there's the Hammer, there's the Idealist. It is more about like what kind of person, like who are you personifying? Like what are you as like your ideals and the things you believe in and how you interact with the world. And you could be any of those, and then you could be a waterbender or an airbender, or you could just not bend at all. You can be like Sokka and you have like advanced weaponry, or you can be like Asami from Korra and have a lot of like technology that you use. And those are just like the things that you use to solve problems and also to enact in like combat. And combat is its own different system that is not bending based at all. So bending is there, but it is not like, it's not going to be like D&D where you get like 3rd level bending spells or anything like that. Or once you reach level 10, you get your advanced blood bending if you're a waterbender. It's nothing like that. In fact, something cool in there is that like, so bendings are techniques that you can use in combat, and they use a fatigue system so that like the first time you use it, it costs like fatigue, which is this like sort of resource that you need to spend and then get rid of in combat as you sort of like go into the fight and then sort of come back and take a more defensive position. It's a way to sort of spend fatigue. So that way it keeps you from just going like hammering all over, like every single time. You have to keep track of your fatigue. But then as you start to use these, you will go from learning an ability like a bending ability to having it be practiced, which means it costs less fatigue or doesn't use any fatigue at all. And then you can, in the fiction, go to a master and do a quest to master that ability. And once you've mastered that bending ability, it's like free to use all the time. That is just that's your bread and butter. So it is there, and it is important to your character, and you can make stories around bending, but it is just not quite in that sort of like D&D-esque sort of like D20 fantasy way that I think a lot of people were expecting when you think of a Avatar RPG.
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting though. But I would have expected it to be very combat based, so that's very interesting to hear. It's also because it's powered by the Apocalypse. I have only played a few of them, Monster Hearts 2 most recently, but just knowing that there is a system for combat is also good to hear.
Yeah, I think if you kind of wanted to imagine if you can read the rules, but also it's a lot like Masks, especially because it's about a younger, like the guy is not explicit about this, but obviously like you are telling stories about younger people. Like these are younger people who sort of like are using their potential, their youth and their energy to like go out into the world and change it. So I think it's going to strike a lot of the same chords as Mask, which Magpie Games also did. So I think they're bringing a lot of that experience to bear in developing this game. Also explicitly, like they use episodes and a series arc to like sort of explain in their newcomers how an RPG works, but it is also very much an explicit part of how they are structuring play session to session. They want everything to be like one episode of an arc, and then it's like once you defeat the villain or you have explicit like goals for role playing, and once you finish that goal, they're like, maybe this is a new season. Maybe think about choosing new scope or choosing a new location to play in and that sort of stuff. So they really want it to like very much mirror Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, and how you sort of consume the original media, which I think is a strength. If you're going to bring that framework over in more than just a reference and build it into the foundation of how this plays, I think it's going to be stronger because of that.
Yeah, I feel like episodes is like a very accessible thing, right? For most people, if you've never touched an RPG and have no idea what a campaign looks like, imagining a season of TV is like a really easy way into that. Yeah, it sounds really cool, and it's out now, right? The quick start at least. So
quick start's out now. There's an adventure. There are pre-generated characters, so you could literally just like download that stuff, print it off, and get to a table within like 10 minutes. You're ready to go.
All right, so excellent stuff.
That's cool.
Before we move on from news, I'm going to quickly mention as kind of an update to something we discussed last week or maybe the week before. We chatted about the fact that UK Games Expo announced that there would be no social distancing restrictions in place. They mentioned that they would not be checking tests, they would not be requiring vaccinations and so on. They've since revised their rules.
Oh, have they?
Have they? There was, let's say, a reaction to that decision online. Some publishers pulled out of the show. It's taking place at the end of this month. UK Games Expo has now said that it will, in fact, require negative COVID-19 tests or proof of vaccination or immunization, and masks will be mandatory, which they weren't before. I would advise folks who are planning on attending that show or considering attending to obviously go and check the guidelines in full. And obviously, in addition to those guidelines, take the kind of steps for your own safety and the safety of others that you feel are appropriate. Let's say maybe in addition to the UK government's current guidelines.
Go above and beyond.
If they could be called guidelines. What do you call essentially the lack of anything? But yes, go
negligence.
Yes, well, yeah. So go and check out those guidelines if you are attending, obviously that show or any other shows. Like, make sure that you are looking after yourself, looking after others. Like, say, just safe. Take all the steps possible to be safe. Like, at the end of the day, like, wearing a mask is better than the alternative. Like, it's assuming that you are able to wear a mask, of course. So yeah, just look after yourselves. Make sure that you are doing everything you can to stay safe if you are going to events such as this or going out. But like I say, go and check out the guidelines in full. But I wanted to follow up and let folks know. So let's move on. Yes, yeah. Let's say it's better than the nothing that they had before.
I mean, I wasn't here last week, but my official stance was that sucks. And shouldn't have been a thing. So this is great to hear. Yeah. Yeah,
it's really interesting that they said, oh, it's not practical to have these measures in place. And then suddenly when people had a real backlash and publishers were pulling out, they suddenly went, oh yeah, we can make that happen. But obviously that's my personal opinion and not the view of Dicebreaker. And, I am not a lawyer, so I don't know the things involved with private events that could set their own restrictions and now suddenly have found a way. Let's move on to this week's segment. Live. Thank you, by the way, for those of you who wrote in after last week's segment, where Wills, if you missed that segment, you should go back and watch it because it was very amusing. That really skirted the line of the things we can say on this channel without suddenly having to bleep them. But a couple of folks followed up and suggested something similar to the Orc or Oryx quiz that Wills ran last week. So Liv, we turn to you as our D&D correspondent, as established earlier this show. Look at this. Look at a callback. And you have put something together for us this week. I'm going to hand over to you, Liv. What have we got? Come on.
Well, what we have is so a few people suggested after Wills's game that we do a D&D version that I run, and so here I have for you D&Deceit.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you so much. So basically, I'm going to be taking, telling you real and fake names of monsters that are available on D&D Beyond. So you have to tell me whether or not you think that they're real or that they're fake, and that's pretty much it.
No Googling, folks. Come on, be honest.
None Googling, please and thank you. Great, Jason. But yeah. So if we just start off with hopefully a simple one, right? Giant hog. Is that a real monster you can fight in D&D according to D&D Beyond? What do you think?
Are we going in Are we answering in a certain order here? Are we?
Not really. No, just
okay.
Just free for all, I guess.
Chaos.
I feel like Giant Hog is that's a plain enough name where I can 100% see that existing in D&D. Like 40 years of monsters, somewhere there just has to be a big old pig.
Big old pig.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. I have a very specific reason, but I'm not gonna say. Yep, but no.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I'm gonna copy Chase and also say no. Also say no.
I could be sinking your ship, bud.
Ooh.
That's fine. I've got no chance either way. So.
That's very exciting. Well, I will say, Chase and Jason, you are right. It is fake. Why? What was your reasoning, Chase?
Most big creatures, they use the term dire. Giants are a specific humanoid type.
Okay.
So if you have these dire wolves, dire eagles, so it'd be a dire pig or dire boar instead.
Interesting.
I feel like I've really exposed myself here as just like an imposter to D&D.
Yeah, you came to play in the wrong neighborhood.
What I want to say is that is definitely good reasoning, but I'll tell you what, it's not what. Okay, so what is real is a giant boar. There's a giant boar and not a giant hog. So
okay,
yeah, but
right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly, but right nonetheless.
Technically correct.
That's kind of correct.
Yeah. All right. For the next one we have. I'm keeping track of the scores, by the way. For the next one we have the adult sapphire dragon. Is that something that you can fight in D&D?
Yes, I'm going with yes.
Oh, immediate yes. All right. Okay.
Yes.
See, I'm gonna say no. And
no
I
as
feel,
well.
yeah, I feel like specifying that it's adult is like, I feel like they wouldn't put that in there. It'd just be like Sapphire Dragon. So that's my reasoning.
Right.
No, for a different reason.
What's your reason?
So I know that the dragons are broken down, but I believe they're broken down by primary colors and then metals, but not precious gems. So there's like gold, platinum, silver dragons, and then there's like just like black, green, white, red. I don't think they do jewels, but listen, they still could. Who knows?
Who knows? Me knows, and that is real. Jason, you got the point.
No way.
It's real. So, Matt, adult dragons are a thing. They have like adult, and they have like what are the other ones? Basically, smaller versions like young dragons and stuff like
Dragon
that.
Junior.
The DJs of the world, yes.
Please, my father was adult Sapphire Dragon.
And Chase, they do definitely have like red dragons, gold dragons, blah blah blah. But apparently, Sapphire Dragon is an available dragon you can fight on D&D Beyond. So there's that.
More the fool I am.
Okay, so 1 second. Okay, we got the next one, which is a Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus.
Could you spell it?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Okay, so it's QUETZALCOATLUS.
I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna assume this is real only because that spelling feels like the kind of thing that if you put that much effort into it, like honestly, you deserve to get one over on me. So,
Chase, what do you think?
No.
No. It's real.
No.
It's real. It's a dinosaur thing that you can fight, and
it's a dinosaur, #dinosaur thing.
Isn't it
dinosaur
based
thing.
on? I want to say it's South American lore. It's a creature that pops up in a few Final Fantasy games as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
really, is it?
is it Quetzalcoatl?
I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Mesoamerican, I think.
That's why I said no, because I know there's Quetzalcoatl, but I didn't. I thought like this was like a technically wrong. Like Quetzalcoatlus is different and not real.
I made a mistake putting this one in, I'll be honest, because every time I read it, I'm like, why did I put that in? I can't pronounce that. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
All right, so that one is real. I will say, Jason, you're in the lead, friend. So, exciting. Okay, the next one is a Carnifex.
I think I want to say that's real. I feel like that rings a bell.
Yeah.
I might be
Yeah,
getting
real.
confused with something else. Yeah. I think I've heard that word before in a D&D context.
Chase, what did you go with?
I said real, yeah.
Jason, why aren't you copying my answers?
Yeah.
No, because I don't think either of you are right. I think it's no.
You think it's no?
I feel like that's a Skyrim dragon.
Oh no.
No, that's Parthenax.
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay.
I'm gonna risk it all.
Well, the risk paid off because it is fake. Good job, Jason. All right, so Carnifex is something that I was like, what's Latin for Satan? And it's that. That's what a Carnifex is, and apparently it's like a bunch of different like monsters in different like franchises and stuff. So, does make sense. Wow, Jason's steaming ahead. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Not because he knows anything, is he's playing mind games with the rest of us.
Like it's paying off. It doesn't matter.
I'm treating this like a game of Commander. I'm just gonna mess with everyone's heads until I've won.
It's paying off. Like mind games pay off. Actually, don't do that. Don't take that advice. Okay, so the next one we have is an Alhoon.
It's like Owlhoon, like OWLHOON.
ALHOON. Alhoon.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go yes.
You got to be wrong at some point. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
I'm leaning in.
Right.
I think if it was Owlhoon, I would go for it, but
No pun, no dice.
It's another point for Jason, folks. It's real. Yes. Yep, an Alhoon is a kind of like mind flayer. Like, you know, so the mind flayers are like the tentacle boys with like they're basically squids.
Yep.
The tentacle boys.
The Tentacle Boys. No, Tentacle Boys was a perfect
squids
explanation.
in
so
dressing
much.
gowns, right? Like
Exactly.
Well dressed wet boys.
well dressed squid.
The fancy squids, yes. Okay. All right. I will say that there are 20, which is the same as Wheels' I think.
Am I gonna have to turn in my player's guide after this?
Look, I mean,
You can send it to me. I don't have one.
It's fine. I don't actually own any D&D books.
See, that's the thing. If you have the player's guide, that's all well and good, but all you need is the monsters manual. Then you'll know.
No, true.
Okay, the next one we have is a Pikol. That's Pikol. Pikol.
Fake. Not real.
Yeah, I think I don't know why, because Chase is doing about as well as I am. But I'm gonna say that's not real.
I'm gonna go with not real as well.
It's not real. Nah, it's not real. Nah, it's not really.
It's too close to a Pokemon.
Oh,
So-
okay. I was just like, that sounds like pickle, and so that's why I put it.
It's fantasy pickle.
Yeah, the fantasy pickle, you know. Okay, the next one we have is a Slod.
SLAAD.
That's it. Slod.
Yeah, that's real.
Then,
I
yeah,
reckon that's real. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with yes too.
It is real. Yeah, that's a real thing. A Slod is like a
I knew
big
that one.
frog person, I think. That's a thing. So, and I also just
Slots?
like the
It's
way it's said.
amphibian looking, yeah. It's not exactly a frog. It's
There's
big
something
and-
about that word that makes me think of like a spread as well, like something that you spread on toast. Like, do you want
Slot and
some-
jam
do you want some-
sandwich?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you want some slard on that? Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah, I'll take some
Oh,
slard. Thanks.
like schmear.
Bagel and Slod.
No, thank you. I'll pass.
All right.
I
fine.
can't. I'm on a diet.
Oh, fair. Thank you. Politely declining. Thank you so much. Okay. The next one we have is a cackler. Which honestly, you could just call me a cackler. I feel like that defines me pretty well.
Is it like cackler as it sounds, or is it spelled with like an A at the end or something like that?
So it's as it sounds. So it's CACKLER, cackler.
I'm
gonna go with
say
yes.
Fake. Oh, we split the room already.
Oh, so you've said it's fake. Okay, right. Okay, man.
I reckon it's fake. I reckon it's too much of a normal word. Like it's. I feel like they tried to just tweak a
Fake.
couple of letters in there, like
Fake.
for trademarks, if nothing else.
Fair. It is real though. So
No.
this is insane. Oh my
I'm really
god.
worried that I've picked up loads of D&D knowledge without realizing it, and I don't know what it's replaced. Like I've probably lost family memories at some point.
Yeah, just like the first time you walked, you just it's all gone now.
Gone.
I can't. I'll never
only the
forget the
slard.
time the baby first cackled.
So a cackler is like a demon creature, and they can cast Tasha's hideous laughter.
That's why
on
I know it.
people.
That's why I know it, because I literally wrote about that, because I adore the card in Adventures
Oh,
in the
it's
Forgotten Realm.
fantastic.
It's wonderful.
Well, there you are. There you are. All right. The next one we have is a dust devil. That's
Real.
D-U-S-T, devil. It's a real
I'm
from
gonna say-
Chase.
I'm gonna say no because I think it's a brand of like vacuum cleaner or something, or like motorized mop. I feel like I've seen those words attached to a product somewhere, which then means it wouldn't be able to be a monster.
New from JML, the dust devil.
Chase's yes was so convincing, I'm going to go
Are
ahead
your
and agree with
flaws
him.
covered
So.
in dust devils?
It is real. It's a dust devil.
You're
It's
so
a thing.
close.
It's an elemental, I'm pretty sure. So it's one for Chase and one for Jason. Okay.
Now, what you're thinking of are dirt devils. It's a vacuum
Dirt
cleaner
devil,
line.
that's it.
Dirt
Is
yeah.
that actually a thing? Oh.
Good instinct.
A dust devil's a small tornado in the desert, right? Like,
Yes.
actually.
Ah.
The more you know. Next, on from dust to mud. Mud snake. M-U-D snake. Mud snake.
That's a toughie.
I'm going to go with no.
I say no too.
Yeah, I think that's probably not real.
Yeah, it's not real. My mud snake's not real. All right.
It was a good one, but
Thank you.
it's getting better.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like almost like you can imagine just coming across a mud set like at some point those kind of like very plain adjective like name of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Those are the trickiest ones to judge.
Yep,
Exactly.
for sure.
I tested this out on a couple of my friends, and they were like, "Surely mud snake is just code for poop," and I was like, "How dare you besmirch my mud snake?"
I've had so much slard, and now like
Yeah.
You would
Oh.
not.
Just gotta
like
go
the
drop
mud
off the mud snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible, but yes.
Atrocious.
Just remember the dust devil.
Oh my goodness. All right. After that, we have the magma method.
Magma method.
Magma method. So magma, like lava, and then a method is a method. So
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
D&D-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll go for that one.
yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, I might as well guess randomly. If anything, I should go against the thing that
That's
I think
what
is
I've been
actually
doing.
the right answer. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's paying off because the magma method is real. Yeah. So good job, everyone. I feel like everyone's just kind of like listening to like what Jason's gonna say and going, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, totally."
We learned after those first few rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a meta game in my case. Just.
I mean, look, it's working because you're catching up slightly to Jason. So that's all right. The next one we have is a mind boggler. So,
No.
M-I-N-D and then boggler. Yep.
I feel like no, because it feels like a mind flare that would appear in a children's book. It's like
Play word
it's like-
games.
yeah, it's like the mind flare, but it's not quite as nasty.
It's like a
Like,
baby
it's just a
mind
mind
flayer.
boggler.
It's one of the shows on Dragon Jr., their YouTube channel.
Okay.
I'm going to say no as well. Yeah.
All right. You're all correct. That is not a thing. I should have realized that telling you that bringing up the mind flayers may have been a mistake on my part earlier. But
Practice.
but still. All right. The next we have is scum.
Scum.
Scum. So S-K-U-M. Scum.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. No.
No, but it sounds like
No.
a band I would have listened to at the age of 14.
I've definitely listened to. I've
Yeah.
definitely got
Yeah.
that EP somewhere and blew out my hearing at
Yeah.
some point in a dingy bar listening to them.
Well, you're all wrong. Scum is real.
Ooh.
That's
Really?
right.
Scum is real.
Scum is real.
Yeah.
Gotta believe
Isn't
in
that
scum.
the truth nowadays?
Scum is real and it's everywhere. Yes. That's it. Okay. So the next one we have is Yabo, Lord of Tyranny.
It's Lord of Tyranny. Oh wait, Yabo. Wait, how do you spell Yabo?
Y-B-O-Y-E. Yabo. I hope. That's probably it.
I'm gonna say no
Mm-hmm.
because I think we've encountered a monster similar to this in Dungeon Breaker,
Right.
and so I feel like, but I also have no idea.
I'm following Matt off this cliff. Yeah, I'll say no as well.
Yeah, right. I'm
Yeah.
also gonna. I'll jump
It's
on in. The
learning
looks
of
nice.
hope. Yeah.
Damn, yeah, you're all. It's wrong. It's fake. It's not real. Right. So the story behind this is that there is one called Yagor, Lord of Entropy. So
They
it's
just made it, yeah, boy.
yeah. So mine is
Ya
your boy.
boy.
That's very good.
Thank you.
It's good.
I just couldn't believe your girl.
Yeah, girl.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Lord of
It's-
Tyranny. We're going to be torturing some people today. I'm glad you could join us. Don't forget to like,
hit that
subscribe,
bell. Yeah.
and
in
suffer
the-
eternal torment.
That's in the MTG YouTube crossover that they're
Yeah.
doing in a few months.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only a matter of time.
Mhm. Oh god. Yes. So that's them.
That's all of them.
Oh no, that's not all of them. No.
Oh, no, okay.
We got like, I don't know, 8 more or something. Then we're done. Right. Next one is air anomaly.
Anomaly? No,
I'm going to say
I don't
no.
think so. That's too scientific for this fantasy game.
I'm gonna go yes.
Okay. It is fake. You've beat Jason on all of them.
Finally.
You've done
I should have
it.
just stuck. I should have
Yeah,
stuck to my
yeah,
strategy of
important.
just agreeing with you guys, because then you can't beat me, so it's fine.
Yeah. So basically,
Yeah, true.
air anomaly is my version of water weird because water weird is a thing.
Ah.
So that's that. The next one is damned speaker, like D-A-M-N-E-D speaker. Damned speaker.
I reckon no. But in my head, it looks like the mouth of Sauron.
Okay.
But I don't think it's real.
Mhm.
Sounds too much like something that my granddad would shout at a hi-fi system.
Damn, speak up.
I'll say yes.
Okay.
I'll be a contrarian.
I think yes as well.
It's fake. You did it, Matt. You did
Oh.
it.
Bamboozled.
Mind boggled.
Mind officially boggled. Yeah, no, I was like, that sounds like some kind of, skeleton man that would warn you of something ominous and then leave, right? The damn speaker, yeah. The next one is Stench KOW.
I'm going to say yes just because I want it to be real.
Right.
I have two, but I gotta say no. I know I'm in last place. I gotta catch up.
I'm going with yes, because I also want it to be real.
I feel like Stench KOW would open for Scum. The second billing.
Yeah, they're on the same bill.
Yeah.
And down speak as the MC.
Oh yeah, of course. I want to go to this gig. But yeah, Stench KOW is real. Stench KOW. Right? Yeah. It's KOW with a K. Doesn't change anything, but it's KOW with a K.
It's more metal, is what.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Some writer filmed it. That was a Friday creature. Someone made that on a Friday at 4 o'clock.
It's like we've got one page left to fill. Just looks out the window. Stench
KOW. Stench KOW.
I was like listening to like the pronunciations because D&D Beyond has like the speaker you click and then you'll pronounce it, and it was just Marisha Ray from Critical Role saying Stench KOW, and I was just not prepared. Like, why is she here? But yes.
Look, the world needs to know about Stench KOW and its pronunciation, so someone's got to, step up.
Yeah, and I'm glad Marisha did. Good for her. Okay, the next one we have is Horror of the Hells.
No.
I reckon, yeah, no, because I feel like they what do you? Oh gosh, I can't even think of the word. They hand out jobs to Wait,
what?
They have a load of different lords that sort that stuff out.
Yeah, their hells are numbered, like in the lore. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Is that all no?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got me. Yeah, it's fake.
If you had said like something of the fifth hell, I'd be like, yeah, that's real. That's 100%. Anything of the fifth hell is real.
Always the fifth hell. No other
Mild
hell.
inconvenience of the fifth hell.
Smack bang in the middle.
Yeah.
You're doing well. You got 3 more, and you're catching up on Jason. So, this could be all to play for. All right, the next one is Elder Black Pudding.
I'm gonna say yes because I'm pretty sure. There is a pudding of some kind in D&D. Like I know the black pudding is also food, but I feel like Elder Black Pudding is enough of a thing. I reckon so.
Yeah, I say no.
I'm going with no.
It's real. Elder Black Pudding's real.
I knew black pudding was real, but I didn't think they got old. It's just pudding. How can you tell if it's an elder black pudding? Does it have a
it's just more cynical.
Card?
Elder's more powerful.
More cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yelling at the damn speaker to get off the lawn, but yeah. No.
That's what you make from a Stench KOW is Elder Black Pudding.
Oh, terrible.
Gosh. No.
Add on your slard.
Oh,
and
no.
A couple of slices of Elder Black Pudding, yeah.
And some Stench KOW. It's
That's
classic
for me.
D&D breakfast.
Oh, so terrible D&D breakfast. All right, good job, Matt. Okay, 2 more. Next one is Man Trap.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw you type.
No, I was writing down the word Stench KOW for the title of the podcast.
Good. Why you were all very, very quick on that? Why?
I feel like it's just a giant plant, right? Mantrap is a man-eating plant, I think.
I think so too, but it's also just like it's just esoteric enough that I think it passes from like mundane into fantastical.
Yeah.
Yep, it's real. Yeah, there's a man trap. Congratulations, everyone, on the man trap. All right, this is the last one, and it is.
Is it all to play for, or is?
Yeah.
Actually, don't tell us yet.
Yeah.
I know Jason's one, but we'll play along.
Loop Guru.
Yes.
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 It's the French werewolf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did D&D Beyond pronounce it Loop Guru?
I don't think so. No, that's just
Oh,
a
'cause
special.
I think it's Lougarou.
Probably is.
For using the French pronunciation.
Ah, yes.
Is it specifically a werewolf who is
French? Yes. It's. I would go into French stereotypes, but I don't want to. But all right. So we have got in third place is Chase with 11. I'm so sorry, Chase. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
GG.
I was so bold at the
GG.
beginning.
DD.
D and D G.
DD.
In second place we have Matt with 13 and Jason wins, storming ahead with 16 out of 20.
Oh my gosh.
That's wild. Good job,
Yeah,
Jason.
well played, Jason. Well played. But yeah, thank you very much, Liv, for the good quiz. That was
a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good fun.
Good.
Stench cow.
Stench
I'm going
cow.
to spend my weekend reading up on the monster manual because clearly I don't know enough as I should to be in this job.
I mean, that's great though, because like when we do more Dungeon Breaker, you're not gonna know what monsters we're coming up against, which is gonna be, the honest way to play. So.
Although, if we run across a stench cow, I'm gonna be, how badly does that cow smell? And if they're like,
is it a stench?
Pretty bad.
I'll be like, I know what it is.
Yeah, so that's Dean Deceit.
Yeah, thanks very much, Liv.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
Before we close out this week's podcast, let's take a couple of questions from the chat and from emails. If you've got a question for us, you can drop it in the chat if you're watching live.
Email.
You can email us, thank you. You can email us at podcast@dicebreaker.com. Hey, or you can just find us on Twitter, join Dicebreaker. Just get in touch, however you want to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Liv, are you in this document?
I am. Hello.
Would you actually? You did a whole quiz. I'll let you.
I
rest
can
for a
read.
second.
It's fine if you want.
Chase, would you like to read this one from Amnestus, please?
Yeah. First off, love you all. Thank you, Amnestus, for the love. Wheels did an amazing orky job, but surprised there was no mention of gits, squigs, digonobs, or purple orcs. Now, bonus question: which one of those was made up? No, it's not in the question. That's editorializing.
As far as I'm aware.
What would be the weirdest crossover mashup game you could think of that would have no business being together, but somehow work? Yours truly, Amnestus.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Mashup games.
Does it have to just be board games, or can I bring video
No,
games?
no. Go for it.
Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons and Rocket League would be the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't
Is
know.
it the same combat rules, but it's like you move 5 feet every turn?
You have to
Like,
collect
imagine
boost instead of mana.
just excruciatingly slow Rocket League.
Yeah, or this is just 5th edition Mad Max, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Everyone's riding stench cows, and you have to. I don't know.
Which is
just
like
think it's
Wizards,
cool.
bring back Gamma World. Do it in some Mad Max style. That's what I want.
Think so. I'm okay. I'm trying to think of something else. But.
Yeah, I'm just, to be honest, at this point, I feel like there's a mashup for everything. That trying to think of something that's completely like out of the blue or out of left field is actually difficult, because at some point you've got minions exploding kittens and, Warhammer 40k magic, and it just feels like, it's D&D Cluedo. So
I was in the LGS the last weekend, and are y'all familiar with the game Starcrossed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's played with a Jenga tower. It's 2 people, unrequited love, like unsaid feelings. So what if it was that, but instead of a Jenga tower, it was Twister?
Oh.
That would make that sort of like expression of feelings a little bit more awkward.
Different.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost like verging into like one of those traditional like hen/stag party
100%.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sexy dice. I don't know.
Oh,
Have you
God.
seen the sexy dice?
Yeah, the ones that have like body parts on one die and instructions on the other.
Like sniff ear.
Yes.
I don't know.
Sniff.
I don't want to.
I mean,
Sniff ear.
non-sexy dice would be better, where it's just like not traditionally sexy body parts and not traditionally sexy actions. But it's just like observe.
Yeah, a ponder elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ponder elbow is
Wash.
very good.
Dishes.
That is good.
Ah.
Wash elbow. Oh, good. Sure.
Yeah, probably important.
I'm trying to think of mashups. I just genuinely don't know. Like,
think I have one. Kind of following on with like Starcrossed and like the love-themed board games, Fog of Love and Betrayal at the House on the Hill. So it's just a big breakup in like
that's
B&B on the hill.
Oh, that's yeah. Oh my goodness. And so like is the traitor turn like the moment that the split happens? That's wow, that's
maybe you're working together, maybe you're against each other, maybe the monster was your partner all along, but you take away the rose-tinted glasses, you know, like that's mine.
I like that.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's like maybe you have to avoid the room that each of you is in because otherwise it results in an awkward conversation.
Or you have to avoid the room where the big fight happened, else you like, you know, take more psychic damage.
Yeah, true. And then physical damage is like when you play the Twister version of Starcrossed. That's the physical damage.
Yeah.
I want to see a mashup between like your very like traditional like Eurogame like farming sim, basically something like Agricola, and something like Gaslands, like fast pace, like or X-Wing. So instead of starships or cars, it's harvesters and tractors, but you have to maneuver them so that they stench cows. You have to maneuver them so that they are going to properly harvest the field. So you're carving away through the field, and then you have to deliver that to wherever it goes after that. I'm not a farmer.
What?
You deliver that to the bread place, and then it becomes bread. Yeah. That's what I want to see. Is like the kind of like mechanics of a fast-paced, like maneuver-based miniatures game, but applied to like very mundane activities. The other one is Supermarket Sweep, the board game.
Yes.
You have aisles. You have to maneuver your trolley, which only has limited turning capability. Down the aisles, pick up the items that you need, and get to the checkout before someone else.
I really wonder why they haven't made a Supermarket Sweep board game yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun fact: Supermarket Sweep, the very first episode, premiered on the day I was born. That's my
really.
That's my fun fact. Yeah, it's my legacy.
Intertwined fates.
Yeah.
All right. Wait, have we all suggested one? All right. Thank you very much for your question. Let's do one more before we close out. Liv, would you like to read this bottom one from Baron Breakfast, please?
I can do. All right. So we have from Baron Breakfast. What is your favorite multiplayer board game that works best for only 2 players? Thank you, Baron Breakfast. Is that the right one?
It's fine. It's a one.
Okay. What am I looking at?
We actually have a list of these. I think we have one on the YouTube channel as well, but we definitely have one on the website. Words are failing me today. I really like Shobu, which is a game I think I've mentioned before. It was one of my favorite games of like 2019. It's very simple. You play on wood boards. It's kind of like a traditional abstract game in the same way that like chess is, or checkers, or Go. Name your favorite abstract traditional board games. It's like one of those. It has black and white stones. It's played on a grid board. But the really interesting thing about it is it's kind of a game where every move you make is mirrored on a different board, and the first move you make doesn't change anything, but the mirrored move like pushes stones, and you're trying to push your opponent off of enough boards to claim victory. And it's very simple. The components are very simple, but I would recommend you buy it to support the publisher. But it's the kind of game where you could feasibly play it if you just drew some grids on a piece of paper, or used a stick in some sand and found some pebbles on a beach. It's a really, like, the components in the box are really beautiful. There's like a line of rope that separates the mirrored boards, and they're like kind of chunky, like carved wooden boards with pebbles. But it's a really lovely looking game. It's very simple, but it's a really kind of good, quick game that's very easy to teach. And like one of those games that you feel has existed for like hundreds of years, but actually someone came up with it in like the last 5 years or so. So it's a really good game.
Nice. Yeah, I have one that it's not you don't have to play with just 2 players, but I think it works quite well with 2 players. Is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which is just like, it's so good. Like, if for anyone who hasn't played, basically you have like a list of gosh, how does it even work? It's so good. I don't even. So you have like a whole map of London, and you have specific clues that you start off with, and you're Sherlock Holmes, and you have to go to specific places, and you like have to chart out like, okay, so for this certain clue, we should go to this location, and we should speak to this person, and then it has like a basically like choose your own adventure like guidebook that you like refer to for the specific scenes that you have to read out, and it is so much fun, and it is like, I think I prefer to play that with less players because it feels like if there's two of you, it feels like you are Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and you're actually doing these things. And yeah, that's my recommendation, because otherwise it can be a bit like too many cooks spoil the broth kind of thing. So that's,
I'm with you. Like, I think like, because one person can have that, one person can have book, and you can swap around. But I think you're totally right. It's like more than two just feels like you're then having to like crowd round and like share it and stuff. And but those games are real hard as well. Like, there's a reason that people just know them as Sherlock Holmes insulting detective, because as soon as you go and check the questions at the end, and Sherlock's like, "Oh, you got everything wrong." Like, don't worry, I solved it for you while you were off gallivanting around like the wrong streets. And it's like, I still had a great time, Sherlock. So joke's on you, I guess.
Who's the real winner?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, you've got your agency, do you? Well, you know, I'm working for you. Please don't fire me. Even though I'm apparently bad at my job, and you're just sat here criticizing me for it. But
Victorian London is hell. Please help me, Sherlock. Please.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Jason, any two-player favorites?
Well, so Liv took mine. I was also going to be, but I guess for like slightly different reasons. I just really enjoy the sort of like taking, like whenever I play with my partner, we will take like the evening to play, and we just do real slow. So like we'll kind of just set it out. We'll talk about things. And we do the same sort of stuff with like shows, where we'll sometimes like pause and talk about stuff, or in between episodes we have a sort of discussion breakdown. I mean, Sherlock Holmes is still like mine, because we just like sort of will cook dinner in the middle of it. We make a whole evening affair. Like, we could just do 2 hours, but like sometimes we'll just like stretch that time out.
This may be like the nerd in me speaking, but it seems like quite a good date night game. I don't know. Yeah,
totally could be. Yep. But I also agree with just like all of the other points about like feeling like Sherlock and Watson. I think it's best played with 2 players. My cop-out answer is Seven Wonders Duel, which is just like already a thing that exists. It's just another version, but it's still just one of my favorite 2-player games. It's a version of a game that you can play multiplayer.
Nice. Jason?
I don't play that many board games because I have 2 cats and a toddler, and
I've been meaning to say how beautiful your cat is, who keeps walking back and forth. By the way.
He's actually a coward. He's very pretty, but he's a coward and a bit of an idiot, bless him. But yeah, it's a version. My favorite 2-player one is a version of Magic the Gathering called Pack Wars, which I actually wrote about on the site. It's where you have 25 sleeves, you have 10 lands, ideally guild gates. One of each guild gates, you've got access to all the mana. You open a pack of Magic the Gathering, just a booster. Without looking, you sleeve them all up, and then you shuffle, and then you just play through a normal game of Magic like that. And because you have no idea what you've got, it's a really cool way to discover a new set, and it's just a good way of cracking boosters without just opening them for the hell of it, which is usually what happens. And it can result in some incredibly entertaining matches. You can do it multiplayer, but more often than not, what happens if there's more than 2 people is that just everybody builds up a board state and nothing happens. So it works at its best with 2 people.
I've been wanting to play Pack Wars since you wrote for the site, because I think it's just like, it's the perfect level of Magic for me, where like, I can't remember if I probably discussed this on the podcast previously. I know I've discussed it before with folks, but it's like that perfect level of, I'm not big into the deck construction side, but I like the kind of main mechanics. I don't mind just throwing caution to the wind and being like, if it's a chaotic nonsense deck, that's fine by me. Like, just let me at it, let me experience it as I reveal it. Like, that's really appealing to me. So I really want to play Pack Wars when I get a chance.
It's a lot of fun.
All right. Nice. Well, I think that is all we have time for on this week's podcast. Before we leave you, thank you so much for being here, Jason Coles. Where can folks find you, other than on Dicebreaker.com, of course?
You can find me on Twitter at @EnderTheyStrife. which is ENOTHE, and then Strife, all one word. I'm also on Twitch because I stream occasionally. And then I do work for other places. But I'm freelance, so I'm not promoting them.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you so much for being here. Chase, of course, our valued news reporter.
Yeah. I mean, you can find me on Dicebreaker. Go read all our stuff. With me and off this week, it's just been me and Matt filling the site. So please go read all our stuff. But yeah, I'm regularly there 5 days a week. You can find me on Twitter at ChaseWrites.
Thank you, Liv, of course, as always.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you as well for joining us, everyone, on episode 67, which is Stairway to Heaven, Made in Heaven, the bingo call that I forgot to do for Lolies.
Yes.
Slipping it in at the end. We like to keep on their toes. Stairway to Heaven is actually an alright one as well.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah.
Look, we've put so many naff ones up front. Like, you finally get a decent one, and it's right at the end.
Yep. I aim to deliver.
I've been Matt Jarvis. Thank you all for listening and watching. If you're watching or listening to this, of course, you can find us on dicebreaker.com. You can find us on youtube.com/dicebreaker. You can catch this very podcast every Friday live from 2 p.m. BST, or you can go find it on like Spotify and iTunes and places like that. You can find everything else on the website. I'm not going to repeat them. You know the score. But until we meet again, stay safe out there, look after yourselves, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.